ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Sports betting isn't a gut call. It's a market with prices that move. WagerBird shows you what to bet, when to bet it, and how the line is changing live. Every pick is time-stamped. Every result is tracked. Start betting like an analyst with WagerBird.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. Welcome to the Midday Market Report for July 23rd, 1:04 p.m. and a beautiful 73 degrees here on sunny Cape Cod. The headliner today, streak stops at 15 games. What's next for the Red Sox? I applaud you guys. What a hell of a run. Thank you so much for giving us a season back. A game that I think a lot of us, me, Scotty, a lot of us kind of thought was a tough spot. Mother Nature wins 2 nights ago. Doubleheader, you win the first game. Rangers Suarez scratched. They bring up Rivera versus Bradish, and you give up 4 in the first, and then Bello held the fort down, but you just couldn't get any offensive going. Hats off to the Fenway fans, too. Gave the team a stand-0 after they made the final out. We're behind you guys. Thank you so much. So first and foremost, a shout-out to you, my proud partnerships and sponsors. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download the app. It is free. And wagerbird.com. Blaine Davis every Wednesday, 10:05. Head on over to wagerbird.com. Use the promo code WELCOME20 and get 20% off your first order of gems, birds, and points. Any questions, send an email to Blaine at info@wagerbird.com. Without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, Scott?
Yeah, it's funny. Like yesterday, I didn't like any games, and today there's only 5 games, and I bet all of them. No, I'm just kidding. I bet 4 bets. I'm like, it's holy crap. It's like it's unbelievable sometimes when you, even on a small slate, you know, you can find stuff that you like, and it's an amazing thing sometimes.
Headline today, and again, the talks with Breslow, it sounds like the off season that I heard. Yeah, we really could use some help at catching. We're looking for a right-handed bat, maybe a DH, maybe a utility second baseman, and oh, by the way, maybe a big arm in the bullpen. And I'm like, Jesus, you just said the same thing in October, November, December, Scotty.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, they've played 100 games. If you don't know what you need, that's a problem. So if you go down and start listing out all the needs for these teams, some of them are fictitious needs. They just think they need these guys, but others, more often than not, they're real, and more often than not, they're not going to be able to solve all these problems. You just have to then use your business brain, if that's what you want to call it, to prioritize what help you think will help you the most. And I think that's a difficult decision for teams. And the reason I say that is because you can go and say, hey, I need a catcher. And then you can go and say, well, there's Goodman out there. There's the guy on the Twins. There's the Langoliers. There's blah, 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 all these guys. Well, then you sit there and you go, well, okay, if I got this guy, whatever guy that is, does that move the needle? How much? as a team. Then can I save a little bit on not going after a second baseman? Can I save a little bit on not going after a middle relief guy? Whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like maybe they go get a catcher and then that doesn't move the needle at all, and they still need to go after other guys. That's the situation I think some of these teams find themselves in. Is there's a lot of needs. And it's not just the Red Sox, it's the Yankees, it's the whoever's. It doesn't matter. You can start just naming off teams and I need this guy, I need this team, I got this hole. And then you sit there and go, well, I filled that hole with this player. Well, that makes us this much better, whatever that this much is. And then you can sort of look at, well, I can sneak by with this guy or that guy, or maybe, bend this, to make it all work. I don't think they're going to be able to, I don't think any team's going to be able to go solve every need that they have. It's going to be the team that goes out and makes the biggest impact on their overall roster that makes them a better team. And, you go from there. Look at Rocket Sauce. They're already slamming on Aaron Nola. Hey, welcome in, Rocket Sauce. It's great.
The gift that keeps giving. Aaron Nola this year's Patrick Corbin Day. Listen, twofold question, and you were a catcher. The Sox starting pitching hasn't been the problem.
No.
A new catcher, you bring a new catcher in mid-season, and you almost start to think, well, will he call? Not that these guys are calling the games anymore, but my point is, new catcher, new framing, new cadence, yada, yada, yada. That's number one. Number two, I'm going back to my binky. Just for 1 second, hear me out here. The starting pitching is getting you length. We go back a couple of years ago to the Phillies when they won the World Series. They didn't have great starting pitching, but they added depth to the back end. And what they did is they just kept bringing in fireballer after fireballer, and it worked. And please don't roll your eyes, because I know this is fictitious here. But if I told you this, I can have Chapman in the ninth. I can get an inning and a third, an inning and 2/3 from Mason Miller, and then I still got Whitlock. Why wouldn't you push all in and try to get Mason Miller?
Look, there's two things in play here, right? One, you talked about catchers, and catchers are the value of a catcher in controlling the starting pitcher these days, they still probably do this. I haven't seen numbers on it for a little while, but there used to be, hey, this catcher, when he catches this pitcher, that pitcher's ERA was this, and when this catcher catches him, that ERA is this, and there's a difference between them, and one's worse than the other one, and all this stuff. But that's a lot of that has to do with not so much the ability of the catcher to catch the pitch. It's more about what the catcher does in terms of controlling the offense by the pitch counts and locations and things like that. The game plans now have taken over that part of the game to a certain degree, and a little bit less of that. So there's more balance in there, I would assume. So I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of, hey, this catcher is the greatest catcher in the world because he controls the pitchers really well. Now, he might have great relationships with them, and that matters, and stuff like that. Now, your other question about, Mason Miller, I think going back to the thoughts about what the Phillies did, the Phillies laid a blueprint. As hey, PB, how you doing? And I think the Phillies laid the blueprint for the playoffs. It's get to the fifth inning. If you can get to the sixth, that's even better with your starting pitcher. But you need guys that come in to throw gas, just blang, 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 right down the line, 100 miles an hour, and the next guy's better. So when you back up guys with you got Miller and Chapman and Whitlock and whoever else back there, that's very formidable. It's very difficult. So I think there's nothing wrong with those thoughts and theories and ideas. When you look at when you look at what his value is in terms of projected WAR, he's over two WAR. Well, that's pretty good for a relief pitcher. That's not pretty good. That's excellent for a relief pitcher. But what you might be surprised at is there's a guy like on the Atlanta Braves. I forget what his first name is, but his last name is Lee, and he's a lefty that pitches. Well, he's like a 1.5 WAR guy, and he doesn't throw 100 miles an hour either. But he's got so much value to that team, and how many innings he's pitched and what he's done that it's great. So it's I don't know. Relief pitchers are more difficult. Now you have a closer and an elite closer, say like Mason Miller, that might be a little different. Especially a guy that earned run average is under 1 and strikes out everybody in the world. That's got that kind of stuff, and closes the games down. He doesn't really blow saves. That's a different situation than almost all the other closers. So his value is going to be extremely important versus those guys. But is it more important than a bat, an everyday player? Those arguments can be made. He's never, ever, 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 ever going to have more value than those players in terms of an everyday basis amounts to what he can do to help the team win. He won't. And the reason he won't is he doesn't have the opportunity to go do it every day. If he was pitched 162 games, then sure, he might have certainly, a super big value. But, he's only going to pitch. He's only going to pitch so often. And I don't think he's a sensitive kid. I think he's pretty strong-minded. I think he's pretty strong-willed. I like that about him. And I don't mind anybody trying to go get him. That's he's the elite closer in Major League Baseball today. How they would work that and what he would do, I'm not sure. I know he was a former starter. And not too long ago, former starter, meaning within the last 5 years, he was a starting pitcher. And then he had the surgery, and now he's a relief pitcher. So I think looking at it from that perspective, maybe he would be a guy you could throw 1 1/3, 1 2/3, and then bring somebody else in if you wanted to. I'm not sure how I would use him in that regard. Depends on game situation, really. If you needed him to do that, I'm sure he wouldn't mind doing it. But these closers also have that mentality that I pitch the 9th inning. That's it. I don't pitch in the other inning. I pitch the 9th. I don't pitch the 10th. I don't pitch the 11th. I don't pitch the 8th. I don't pitch the 7th. Those guys are weird. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting him. I just don't know what I would do in terms of what I would mortgage to give up for him. Because certainly, in a playoff run, the closer is important. But over the course of a season, 162 games, they are way less important than you think they are. They are super good guys, and they help your team win. But he's going to pitch 40 times in 162 games, maybe 50 times. And your everyday players play 160 games. So his value is way less. So I would be real careful on what I gave up for him. I know it's going to cost you everything you got, but I wouldn't give up everything I got for him.
Shout out to PB sitting in the SMH surgical waiting room. Thoughts and prayers to you, your family, your wife with the surgery coming up. All will be fine. I got a candle lit for you guys. You'll be fine. Trust me. Day baseball. Bottom 4. Padres 3. Braves 1. Sale went off at -245 at the circa. You could have got the Padres at +217 with an 8 flat under over. Minnesota Cleveland just underway. Taj Bradley versus Gavin Williams. I think if I go back here, Rocket Sauce did a little something with that. Where are we here?
Yeah, he did a K prop on Taj and Melton 6, and he also did looks like Gavin Williams for 7 on K props.
Scotty, I did have to ask you. I'm going to bring you to the forefront so you can go through the other games. There's only 3 that haven't started. I'm listed C. Legumuna, however you pronounce his name. I know you had
Seymour.
What's his name? Seymour, clearly not Richard Seymour. That is there. I did like the Tampa side there, and I love where your eyes are with Arizona. That one smelled to me real bad. But is this an opener for Seymour?
Yeah, it is. Well, you got to remember, Seymour's a relief pitcher. He is exactly what Griffin Jacks was. He's a relief guy that throws real hard, and now they're stretching him out to be a starting pitcher. So in this case, they are looking at putting in Lugima, whatever his name is, and he's going to be an opener. Now he's a guy that could go two, but he's going to at least go one. So that's gonna allow Seymour not to have to go through the top of their order. And they loaded it up with right-handed batters, which is normal. You would want to do that against lefties. So maybe Laguma is going to be fine in that first inning. But that's what it is. He's an opener. Expect Seymour to pitch. Just so everybody knows, you're seeing his name be attached to trade rumors and different things, Seymour, from Tampa Bay, and that's because he's a controllable pitcher that throws really hard, and he's left-handed. Well, what is Tariq Skubal? Well, he's a left-handed throwing really hard pitcher, and theoretically, that's what they said they wanted, was a controllable starting pitcher. So that's what I'm seeing out over on the internet all over the place as well. Seymour, and he's young, and he needs development, and he needs to be continually stretched out because he's a relief pitcher. But he can go 5 innings. There's no issue with him going 5 innings. And if they get through the first inning and he can go 5, now you're into the 6th and the 7th inning, and now you got the pretty good bullpen coming in, and they win the game. So I like the Rays today, especially at the price, right? They're not even favorites. Of course, they're not really big underdogs either, but they're not favorites. And I'm not saying the Rays offense has been the most dynamic thing in the world, but holy shit, the Toronto, I think Jeff and I could go get them out. They can't hit it all.
3 games. I'm going to bring you to front and center. I'll be here. I'll give some updates when they are. When we come back, we'll talk some football, okay?
Yeah. Well, there's no reason to really get into this game with the Braves other than to say it's a continuation of yesterday. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to go bet on a pitcher when you've got the number 1 and number 2 offenses in baseball playing each other, and they're both really hot. The Padres are really hot on offense, and the Braves are really hot on offense. So they're going to score. And they scored 3 runs against Sale already, and they didn't come from home runs. They came from base hits, and he got silly, and he even walked in a run. He hit a batter, all that stuff, and then all of a sudden they get a couple hits, and they got 3 runs on the board. So now they got to battle back. Now, I'm not saying that they can't do that against Griffin Canning, because they can. So, who knows what that final score is going to be. Theoretically, they got 4 runs already, maybe, and I think the total in the game was only 8, and they got 4 runs in the first or second inning. Shit, that's probably going to go over, especially when the bullpens come in. So, that's maybe a thought my computer said to go over. My computer says 7-5 in that game. So anyway, I think I didn't believe it, so I didn't bet it. But anyway, I think that's sort of the problem when you do that. And I liked San Diego yesterday, and they got ahead, and then they couldn't score, and then they got a home run or 2 hit by the Braves, and then all of a sudden the game kind of got out of hand. But my thoughts on those types of games are: be real careful on diving into the underlying pitching numbers, because sales numbers are really good, and you might sit there and go, well, yeah, he's a dominant pitcher over Griffin today, and and the whole thing, and they're going to cover too easy. Well, it doesn't work that way when an offense is really doing well. San Diego's number 1 in offense, and they're scoring all kinds of runs, and they're hitting like crazy. So just be careful on that kind of stuff. Today's article, by the way, when I wrote it, in the baseball article, and I did a football one too. But today's baseball article is really about some of that kind of nuance to baseball, and I didn't use that reference. The reference is about data, and data doesn't lie. It is what it is. It's a fact, and here it is. And then you, as the misogynist of all the facts, have to kind of collect it all together and then in context put it together. That's what your job is. So in a lot of cases, you'll see that there's a starting pitcher that may have, an average run score, and I went into run score pretty heavy. So xFIP Sierra numbers and the combined numbers run score, and he might have an average number there, but his batting average on his batting average against is really low. His whip rate's really low. His hard hit rate's really low. Stuff like that. His xWOBA number's really low. Well, that means offensively they can't get on base. They can't get hits against him. So how's he going to lose? You got to remember how the data works and what makes up the data. So, xFIP and Sierra are heavily influenced by walks and strikeouts. They just are. But that's the way baseball is. If you are a bad walks guy, you're going to lose a lot. If you're a big strikeout guy, you're going to win a lot. So the numbers reflect that. Walks are really bad, but they're really, really bad in advanced data metrics, and they should be once you get to understand them. And strikeouts are really, really good for pitchers, and they should be. So you're betting on those things. But anyway, off track there for a second. But that's the idea behind the article today. And then, obviously the data and the plays. But so Minnesota plays today, and they play. I was surprised. Let me just say it this way. There's 5 games. Make sure I count them right. My computer picked 4 of the 5 games. It actually wanted me to go bet on Sale today, and I didn't do it because there's more nuance to it, right? So reading the tea leaves, if you want to call it that. I didn't bet on them. But it does have spots where my computer likes Cleveland today. It likes Tampa Bay today. It likes Arizona today. And it likes Detroit today. Well, I guess shit, it liked every one of these games. So then you got to figure out how to do it all and then make sure it makes sense. So let's go to this Cleveland game that it likes. And one of the things that I thought sort of stood out here was Taj Bradley pitches really well, and he's a pretty good strikeout guy, that kind of thing. But you know how good Williams has been xFIP and Sierra wise, or run edge wise? His run edge is 2.51. To give you sort of an idea, Chris Sale, everybody knows Chris Sale. He's 3.14. That's really, really good. But 2.51, that's almost a half a run better. So it's really, really hard then to sit there and go, hey, Minnesota, you got to score all these runs against a tough pitcher. So then you got to look at the offense and see if they can do that. And offensively for Minnesota, they rank 22nd out of 30 teams. Well, that's not really good. They're 85 weighted runs created plus, so they're 15% worse than an average offense. They're 4.6 runs worse than an average offense. And today we were able to get, because they played 6 games now, we since the break, we were able to go back into net positive and negative WAR offensive players. They are negative 3 guys, 5 guys are negative on their offense. That's not good. You don't want to be negative as a net, right? You only want to have 2 offensive guys, and those 2 guys are Trevor Larnach and Ryan Jeffers, and they're not that big. 2.1 and 1.2. Well, that's not very good, and especially compared to what Cleveland's doing. Cleveland offensively, by the way, they rank 6th. They're 9th in isolated power. They got a 145 weighted runs created plus. They're 45% better than average. That's pretty good. Well, it's not pretty good. That's really good. And they are 12 runs better than an average offense. That they have a net positive 5 guys over 1 WAR. 5 net guys. But the big part of this is they have zero negative guys, none. So everybody's contributing to their offense. Every player is contributing to them winning. And I talked about Trevor Larnach and Ryan Jeffers being a small numbers. Look, even though they're small numbers, they're great offensive performances. But Travis Bazzana's 4.6, Stephen Kwan's 4.0. Look, Braves are now ahead 5-3. See, eight runs. We should have bet the over, Jeff. And then you got Halpin, which he's not going to be on this list very long, but he's a 2.6. DeLauder and Bailey, they're all they got 5 guys on this list, all helping them win, and then all the other guys are not negative either, which means they're contributing to some degree. They might have a 250 batting average, for example, which is better than average, and doing some sort of little bit of damage, but they don't make the list. So there's a lot of positives here with Cleveland. Cleveland's got the much better bullpen, even though Minnesota's bullpen's pitched a little better, as of late. But I do like the fact that my computer says, hey, 7-4. Of course, I don't believe. I think sometimes it gets a little carried away with how many runs it's going to score, but I ask it to do that because I want variance in that number. So it's 7-4, and then the ESO dashboard. This was the lightest game. It had Cleveland winning by 2.5 runs, which is probably it's the same thing as the other one. 7-4 is 3 runs. So I think Cleveland at home. I think they're the right side. I think they're the right stuff. And I think Williams will pitch. He's off a game score 40. He's a game score 55 for the season, and he's a 251 run value edge. So I liked that. The only thing I didn't like about Williams today is his RE24 score is negative. I don't really want to bet negative RE24 score, guys, but it's only -1. So it's not like it's the most ridiculous thing. And a lot of times an offense can kind of overcome some of that. And then when you take him out of the game and the bullpen comes in, I think it's going to be a very competitive game. Don't get me wrong. But I liked Cleveland, so I bet it. I like this one a lot. This is Tampa Bay and Toronto. I don't like Bieber at all. And what's great about this game is Bieber, the last time out, he threw and he's not throwing well, but I forget what team it was. They couldn't hit him. He threw a game score 72. Look, Bieber can't throw 72s back to back. His average game score is 38. So I don't expect him to be anything more than a 38 today, which is very favorable to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is throwing Seymour today, and we just talked about a 2.51. He's a 2.77 run edge score. Now, it's very important to realize when I say these things, that's the expected amount of runs they're going to give up in a 9-inning game. That's exactly what it means. So if he's expected to give up 2.77 and Bieber's supposed to give up 5, well, you got almost 3-run edge. That's why I say it that way. Tampa Bay should win this game by 3 runs. Well, pretty close. And then when you match in the offense and you say, hey, offense, what does that look like? And then bullpens and what does that look like? Then all of a sudden it starts to get out of control for some of this stuff. And Bieber, he's a 17% strikeout guy. Well, that's low. That's not a lot. On the other side, Seymour, he strikes out 35% of the batters he faces. Remember, he's a hard-throwing lefty. He's a bullpen guy. So what does that mean? He's going to throw hard. He's going to strike guys out. Well, that's what he does. 35% strikeouts. That's extremely positive. I mean, Mizorowski's like 38, 39. When he's really good, he's 40. But 38, 39, and here's Seymour at 35. So that's a big edge on the mound. A big edge on the mound for Tampa Bay. And then the other problem with Bieber is he's 11% walks. So he walks the world and strikes out not very many guys. And that leads to then saying, hey, your swing strike percentage is relatively low. So balls are going to be put in play. That's all advantage Tampa Bay, 100%. And then you start looking at it and go, well, how hard do they hit the ball? Well, 45%. That's how hard. That's bad. That's bad against Beaver. The 45% is the highest one on the board. Well, if you count Dobnik, who's pitching for Kansas City today, he's 46%. It's hard to slow balls down when 45% of them are over 100 miles an hour. It's hard to get those from being base hits. That says 0-0, top of 2 in Minnesota's game. Taj, 1 strikeout, and Gavin 3 strikeouts. There you go. So as you kind of go through these and you start moving this needle, you already understand, hey, I got an advantage on the mound, and it's not small. It's a big advantage. And then when you go and you look at the hitters and the batters, Toronto, there's 30 teams in the league. They are 30th in offense. They score 1.7 runs a game. And I said this yesterday and the day before, and I'll say it again. You cannot beat the Tampa Bay Rays scoring 1.7 runs a game. You're not going to beat them that way. But I'll even go in further to say it this way. I don't think you're going to beat the Rockies doing that or any of the bad teams. The Angels or the Reds or any team, you're not going to beat them scoring 1.7 runs a game. So you're at a big deficit again now on offense, and it's pretty big. They are 42 weighted runs created plus, 58%, 58% worse than an average offense. Well, that's not very good. And if you go kind of spread it out, they don't walk. They're not a big strikeout team, so they do put balls in play. But they're 14 runs worse than an average team, and they have 5 negative WAR guys, which that's what you would expect. They have 5 of them. Or no, I'm sorry, 6 of them. Their net is 4. Rocket Sauce says, I love this Tampa Bay play. Bieber also looks primed to walk at least 2 Rays. They don't strike out much at all. No, the Rays don't strike out that much. And you know what's interesting about this game with the Rays and their offense? I always say this when I talk about the Rays. You got to have Caminero, Diaz, and Aranda on your list to do well. Well, Caminero is leading the team at 4 WAR, and then Simpson, who's the fast outfielder guy. Their rookie kid Mesa, he's hitting home runs like crazy, 2.6. Neither one of these 2 guys, Aranda or Diaz, are hitting right now, but they're still an average offense, a little bit better. But being an average offense at 1 run better than an average team, I think is what they are. The Rays, they're 6 runs better than an average offense. They're 118 weighted runs created plus. They rank 8th in offense. It's a whole dynamic, right? That it's very hard to beat a team when you can't score runs and your pitcher gives up runs. Just blah. And not only that, but I got Tampa Bay at plus 101. I know it's not really a dog, but it is a plus sign there. So I got Tampa Bay. I thought it was good. I bet them. The ECO dashboard says they're going to win by 5. My computer says 6-1, so that's pretty good. I'll take it. The next game, Jeff said he liked my eyes where my eyes were. This is Atlanta and St. Louis, and I'm not Atlanta. Arizona. I'm not a big Arizona fan. I do like it's the same concept with some of these teams. If certain guys are hitting, I'm good with it. And with Arizona, you need Carroll and you need Marte. That's what you need. And on their list on offense, if I go there, they have Arenado leading the way, Moreno, Carroll, Kepler, Vargas, and right off of that is Marte. He's not quite on the list, but he's helping. So they actually have 5 guys contributing to their offense, a net over 1 WAR, and 0 guys pulling away. Those are the kind of offenses you want to bet on. They got offenses that have 0 guys not contributing to scoring. So that's a big deal. And then Fott has been unbelievable since they put him back in the rotation. He's made, I think, 4 starts, maybe 5. Let me look. It is 1, 2, 3, 4 starts. So he's a game score 53 on the season. So he started off. However, they didn't like him, so they put him in the bullpen, and then they said, well, we need you to stay as a starter. So they put him in AAA, put him back up, let him pitch again in the bullpen as like a long man. Now he's filling a role because the guy got injured, so he's pitching. Well, he's a game score 59 in his last three starts, basically. And he's a 3.90 run value score, which isn't really it's an average number. McGreevy's a 3.89, so there's no edge there. They're about the same. The difference comes down to is both of them RE24 scores are very similar. They're both good. Both of them have a similar strikeout rate and all that stuff. You're betting on the idea that Arizona is hitting and St. Louis is not, and you have a pitcher matchup that's even. And then when you look at the bullpens, you go, Arizona's bullpen is better. And then all of a sudden you have, well, there's an edge on the back end of the game. I just can't lose it in the front end of the game. I don't think Fott's going to, because St. Louis can't hit right now. So the only caveat to this game, and it's kind of a big one, this is a makeup game. So Arizona was at home yesterday. They fly to St. Louis today to play a game today. One game. That's it. One game against St. Louis, and then tomorrow they fly somewhere else. I don't remember where, but they fly to another city and play another team. So it's a blink, blink, gone, right? They're not even going to stay in a hotel. Well, they stayed in a hotel last night. And then, they boom, gone. So that's kind of a weird setup. It's kind of a weird thing. It's kind of not in the norm of, how baseball players operate. So that could throw things off a little bit. But McGreevy's not a strikeout guy. He's a soft tosser that, has to put the ball in the right place. And, bats travel. So hopefully we see that, because the big advantage in this game is on offense. And on offense, you have Arizona, and you don't say this very often, but they're number 4 in offense. Let me just put it this way. For the season, they are 93 weighted runs created plus, so 7% worse than an average offense. 92 is in the season-long numbers. 92 is in the worst 25% of baseball. So they're like right there is in the worst 25% of baseball. And if you remember what they did the last game, they scored like 15 runs and had 17 hits. So that's what put them to 93 instead of 92. So anyway, they're not a good offense, but they're hitting right now. And they're scoring right now. They score 6.7 runs a game. They're ranked 4th in offense, 4th isolated power. They're not striking out that much, and they're walking a lot. So they're getting on base and doing a lot with it. And then you have the St. Louis Cardinals, who have 0 positive 1 over WAR guys. That's it. None. Well, that's hard to win when your guys aren't contributing to offense. Now they got 2 guys that are pulling back that are more than one. So there's a bunch of middling things going on with them. They rank 28th out of 30 teams, 29th out of 30 teams in isolated power. So that's not very good. They are weighted runs created plus 67. So they're 33% worse than an average offense, taking on a good offense, and a pitcher that's pitching well for Fott. And I'm not saying McGreevy's not, but I'm saying that McGreevy's not a big strikeout guy, so he's going to face an offense that's pretty hot. That doesn't match up well. So my opinion is that Arizona is the right side here. My computer says, hey, this game is going to be 6-4, and maybe it will be. I don't know. I don't know how St. Louis is going to score 4, but 6-4, Arizona. And then the dashboard is a lot closer. It likes Arizona by 3 runs. Well, I shouldn't say a lot closer. It's just a smaller margin. And then the last game, I had an option here. You can bet this game minus 1.5. I decided I didn't really want to do that. I like the Detroit side. Kansas City's pitcher is bleh. And it's Dobnik is his name, Randy Dobnik. And if you go back and look, he's got a history of pitch for the Twins a lot. But he doesn't pitch for them anymore. Now he pitches for the Royals. Same concept of, bad teams. And he's very hittable. He doesn't strike guys out. He doesn't walk guys, but he gets hit. And you run into the idea that Melton is really good. He's like an ace. He's in a game score over 60 guys. So Royals are going to struggle. Bobby Witt's not playing. Their best hitter right now is Sal Perez, for God's sake. So, Sal Perez, a 40-year-old catcher, is going to be their best hitter. That's not good. So I think Melton's going to handle that. So the issue came down to where can I get the best number? And I got over 4.5 runs because two things. Dominic's not very good. The bullpen for Kansas City is not very good. I think Detroit's going to score some runs. I played them over 4.5 at -124 is how I played it, so that I didn't have to go spend a lot of money on having to worry about the covering two and all the other stuff that goes with the run line. And I didn't want to go pay, obviously, was it -195 or something like that for the line. So I didn't want to do that either. So anyway, that's the baseball story, guys.
Let me see if I can pull this up here on this side. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. I got a doozy for you, Scott. This is near and dear to my heart. We have a 8-legged parlay with 7 legs already in. Okay. The one pre-flop baseball future that has legs still for ECSI back in February, March. Mizorowski 30-1 to win the National League Cy Young. He is right now -250. Okay. This gentleman put $20 to win $15K. And he went 6 for 6 in his UFC card. He had Spain plus 475 to win the World Cup. He's down to Mizorowski to win the Cy Young -250. Now, here's the downside. The value on this ticket currently is basically $11,000, Scotty. There's no cash out opportunity. I have said since day one, Mizorowski is the right-handed version of Josh Hader, and I believe that. Now they've pushed back some starts. He pitched 65 pitches on Monday. You and I both said that was predetermined, and you said further up on that basically they're going to do this throughout the rest of the season. They're not going to probably get caught. They have the best record in baseball. At this point, this gentleman who only has $20 invested, wouldn't you be pushing to sell some shares here? Obviously, if there was a cash out opportunity, I would be grabbing that money immediately. No cash out opportunity. Thoughts on Mizorowski moving forward? Thoughts on this $20 investment valued at $11K? If it comes in, wins $15K, what would you do if you were holding this ticket, Scotty?
Well, let's just say it this way. So Mizorowski in 2025, he threw 66 innings. That's not very many. So far this year in 2026, he has thrown 115 innings. So they're going to manage his innings the rest of the season. I mean, they don't have a choice, especially if they want him to be available at the end. So they might even skip a start or two for him. Now, having said that, who's the next guy? It's not going to be Ohtani because Ohtani's knee hurts and they're not letting him pitch. So he's not going to be the guy. You can say it's not going to be Paul Skeens. He's already had too many rough starts. Is it going to be Wheeler? Wheeler's pitched really well. Now he missed the beginning part of the season, but he could pitch and get him going, down the stretch. At the beginning, you thought, well, it's going to be Christopher Sanchez, blah, blah, blah. Well, obviously he fell off he woke up and, bumped his head or something. And he wasn't Christopher Sanchez for a couple of days. So my opinion is going to be, I don't think anybody's still going to beat him. So if nobody beats him, this ticket is an awesome ticket. So if he sold shares of the ticket, that guarantees him money. That's fine, and then he still gets paid on the ticket. If he decides to hold the ticket and go, how much money did he invest? Like $100 or something?
$20.
$20. Like, well, shit. Yeah, okay. Well, if I lose, I'll just go buy another pizza. But he's not going to. I don't think this is a losing ticket. This is a winning ticket. So maybe he can sell it and make more money off of it. Maybe he can go and say, hey, I'll sell it to you for whatever. I paid $20 for this ticket. It's gonna win. If you were to give me, I don't know what's it worth. What's it worth? Let's say $11,000. Say somebody goes, well, I'll give you 12 grand for it, 13 grand for it. I'm going to win this. I don't know why they would do that, but say that or do that, and they get their money out, and then. But there's no way he can lose this ticket. I don't even think I would even go to the point where I want security, right? I don't need security in my mind. In my mind, Mazeroski is going to win. Now, the only way he won't win is if his arm falls off and he doesn't pitch at all. And I suppose it could be too that if Mazeroski found 2025 form where he's a 366 xFIP number versus his 210 number, and he starts to get hit a little bit and different things. Maybe that's a different story down the line too. But he's still good enough. Like he's good. He's done his share of work. He just needs to cruise in, and he's going to be that guy. So I think this is a winning ticket for this guy. It's a matter of, do you really want to secure the ticket and sell shares, or do you not? But I guess that's one way to make sure. Hey. Jeff and I get together and go, hey, we want a piece of this, and Jeff goes, I'll give you 2,500, and I give you 2,500, and when it hits, we get our money back, or whatever, and you however it works out for it. So and then you get your 10, 11 grand or whatever it is, and you're guaranteed then at least $5,000 or whatever, because we gave you $5 grand. So, maybe that's what he wants to do.
That thought process is, hey, you get 2,500. When it cashes, it's worth 15,000. Everyone gets 5,000. Actually, hold on, the math is wrong there. Everyone would then split 10,000, so that would be 33. So we get initial 5 plus another 33. So we'd be around 9K. We get our 25 back and another 30. So we would double our money. Go to wagerwire.com/marketplace. You can see this ticket and all the others. Again, a great ticket to have. It's fascinating. He puts together 6 pieces of the UFC, and then comes back, has Spain at plus 475. Hats off to him there. And then he's just got the Miz to win. And I did hear on VSiN about a week, 10 days ago, that Wheeler, it was around 20-1. It might have dropped to about 15-1. You talked about Paul Skeens, and Paul Skeens has one of those second half dominant performances. If here comes, Wheeler down the stretch like Thunder Gulch, I mean, the Sanchez has been leaking oil, so there's not a lot of names out there to catch him. He literally could drop the mic and say, hey, I'm going to come back September 1st and pitch 5 or 6 innings to get my sea legs ready for the playoffs, barring, looking like Bello in the first inning, he'd still win.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's dominantly ahead. Everybody was talking about, we were talking about Christopher Sanchez, and then everybody wanted to talk about Ohtani. Well, those two guys are falling out. I don't know that Christopher Sanchez can get back in, because I think Wheeler's going to be ahead of him. So as it kind of comes down the line, the Phillies are going to be a team to watch for lots of different reasons. They got to catch the Braves, but in this race, if Wheeler's the cog that gets them to catch the Braves, and he goes on to win over 20 games, 20 wins, and has great numbers and all the other stuff that goes with it, he might get accolades that way. And if Mazeroski's on cruise control and doesn't do a whole lot, it might be, what have I seen lately at the end, especially when these games matter, coming into September and stuff. So I just still think it's going to be Mazeroski's deal, but I do think that the competition is Wheeler, in my mind. Maybe I'm totally off, but I that's where I think the number is going to come from. It's going to be Wheeler.
Bottom 5, Atlanta still 5, Padres 3. So if you played the first 5 minus the hook, you're in. I want to give an update for our buddy Rocket Sauce. Still 0-0, bottom 3. Bradley still at 1K, Rocket Sauce. And Gavin Williams up to 4. Struck out the side in the first, has gotten 1 more since. So bottom 3, 0-0. You kind of hinted we're here. We're already 50 minutes in. Give everyone the thought process moving forward. You sent the email on Substacks out. FYI, still pending. I'm assuming Brett will be on here. The Pick 6 previews, 11 a.m. guys. So you talked about. I showed everyone the book. If you haven't gone, go over to X. Go follow Brett Ciancia, I would say, right? Ciancia. And get take a look. This is the Bible for college football here, the Pick 6 preview. But Scotty, take it away about your football.
All right. Well, for those that were here last year, they know Rocket Sauce like, come on, Taj, step it up, babe. For those who know, and I think PB was here for football and stuff last year. I break down football the same way that I do break down baseball. So the first thing you got to understand about how I do it, I do it data wise, but there's a reason for that. And some of it, I don't want to look at what they've done in the past and then grade what they've done in the past and say this is what they're going to do today, because it didn't work like that. You want to look at efficiency. So football works the same way as baseball does, in a sense of, you're betting on teams and the efficiency of these teams, because the efficiency of the teams is more predictable, and it is also capable of moving forward and getting better, or falling apart and getting worse. And you can see it. So there's data points and different things that you want to look at. So, I don't know what you guys have done for football yet, or whatever, or what about week 0 in college football. But week 0 is August. Let me pull up my numbers. Bump. There we go. Week 0 starts on August 29th. And the first game is in Dublin, Ireland. TCU and UNC, North Carolina, play each other. So Texas Christian and North Carolina. I've already handicapped this game. Now, obviously, there's going to be some nuance and some different things you got to keep up with. So there's a website, and I'm going to give it out again, and Jeff and I will use it as we do the shows and we do the breakdowns, and you'll see the different things that are on there. But it's called gamesonpaper.com. When you go there, all the games are going to be listed. And then when they're listed out, you just click on the game, and here comes all this advanced data. Now, advanced data is a breakdown of the game and efficiency by play. So I don't talk to you about yards per rush. I don't talk to you about rushing yards. I'm not going to talk to you about rushing touchdowns. I'm not going to talk to you about passing touchdowns. I'm not going to talk to you about a lot of things that you're used to hearing. So I wrote an article in my Substack, and it's pretty good. And it's detailed, but it's not like in depth to the point where you sit there and go, "Oh, this guy's nerdy," and blah, 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 blah. You're like, none of that. It's in language you understand, for the whole practical purpose of when I break down football games, you'll sit there and go, "I know what he's talking about." Because, when I do a baseball game, you guys now kind of understand what run edge is, and you know what Sierra is, you know what XFIP is, you know what some of these, you know what RE24 score is and stuff like that. I'm not talking a foreign language. Well, football works the same way. And let me get to my article for a second. If I can find which open window it's in. We will get there. There it is. So So the idea basically is that we're going to look at data that is going to be EPA driven. Okay, EPA stands for extra points added. So if you can think about the football field and a team moving towards the goal line, they're going to get points. Each play tells how successful they are at gaining more points. So they get credit for points added. Each negative play takes away from that. That's offense, right? On defense, you want negative numbers, and on offense, you want positive numbers. So you may hear terminology that says, well, the net EPA for, I don't know, TCU is 3 yards. And the net negative EPA for UNC is 1.5 yards. Well, that's a pretty big gap. That means on every single play, then, and that's the way that we word this, every single play, you add the two together, you got a 4.5 yard edge to TCU. That's exactly what it means. So, but as a gambler, you need to have it tied to points, because that's how these games run. These games aren't just go pick the winner. You got to cover the number. So you got to know if they're going to score points, and that's what EPA is tied to, extra points added. So that's a very major number when it comes to those kinds of things. The way it's described that I put in here, it's points expected per play. Obviously, the higher the number for offense, the better. The lower the number, the better for the defense. And truthfully, this is an overall team strength number. This is a team strength number. But when you do matchups, you got to break them apart. You got to go, well, what's the EPA for the offense versus the EPA for the defense, and team A versus team B, and then team B on the other side, offense versus team A, all that stuff. Yeah, you're going to hear me talk about what's success rate. Success rate is the ability that a team has, and the way I always think about it is, this team has success rate. They have plays that are moving the chains. They're continuously driving down the field. They're getting first downs, or they're getting close to first downs. Those are successful plays. So success rate measures how successful plays are, but it's geared towards moving the football, not just he caught a pass. That's not necessarily a successful play. If the guy caught a pass and is a swing pass to the running back, and the running back gets tackled for a 2-yard loss, how much of a successful play is that? It's not. So it grades them on success rate. So success rate is measure of consistency of plays. It's a reliability and matchup edge type metric. It's going to do a lot to figure out where you are on a lot of those kinds of things. You're going to hear the term explosive plays. We kind of all know what explosive plays are, right? They're big plays. They're touchdowns. They're 30-yard plays. They're big chunk gains. Obviously, the more of those you have, the more often that you're going to move the ball to score. Your EPA is going to go up because you're moving the ball towards the goal line. Or on defense, you're taking the ball the other way, right? So we're going to talk about those a lot. You're going to hear about EPA per pass, EPA per rush, all that stuff. So you can divide out EPA. We talked about net EPA, but you can divide it into rushing. You can divide it into passing. And that's how you match up teams to see where the value basically is going to be. If a team can run on a team that can't stop the run, then you got a pretty good situation for the team that can run and the team that can't. So you look at that. And then we got radar charts, okay? And I'm going to blow this up so I can see it a little better. I might have to even squint to look at it for whatever reason. I've been looking at my phone too much and I can't see today. So as the radar charts are important because it takes several metrics and it puts it all in one spot. It's also referred to as called a spider chart because when you look at it, it looks like a spider web. That's what and you look at it and you go, well, I can't tell anything from this. Well, these are extremely important because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 18 metrics on one chart, and you can see a lot about a football team just in this one chart. And then you can do two things. You can overlay how the other team looks on that chart, and then because of where one team is more successful than you can see all the gaps. It's just a phenomenal chart. Now, that said, most people don't use this. Most people don't even understand how to read it. So to read this chart, the first thing you got to realize is each spoke on the chart is a grade of 1 to 100. And the farther out the chart goes, where your point is, that's the closer to 100 you are. 100 is success. 0 is not success. So you want to have a whole pie chart the best you can, if you can have it. So looking at, and I've already got it sitting here, looking at TCU's game against North Carolina, for example, EPA per play, you're looking at TCU's offense somewhere in the neighborhood of, 60 something. And so it goes up the chart just a little bit. And then the next one over says early down EPA, right? So here's a good thing for you to understand. What does that mean? Well, first and second down. Does that set up a good third down for you? Well, in this case, it looks to me like they're at, somewhere around 30. That's not very good. So their offense is not good on first and second down, but phenomenally good on late downs. They're close to 85%. So maybe they're getting, say 3 yards. And then on third down and fourth down, they set it up where we get first downs because we got this tight end that we can throw the ball to. And so it takes a little work now on your side to go, how are they doing that? Well, what's the matchup that they take advantage of? And then handicap wise, you can apply that to your game. The next one down says average distance on third down, right? You don't want to have a long way to go on third down. And that's exactly what this has just said. We said, hey, they weren't very good on first down. They're a little better, getting closer. And the average distance on third down is a small number. So that's pretty good for them. But it also just goes, there's explosive plays are in here. Defensively, there's things called havoc plays. Well, what's a havoc play? Well, a havoc play is a sack. A havoc play is a running back that's trying to turn the corner on a sweep, but he gets tackled for a 5-yard loss. Havoc plays are interceptions. Havoc plays are chaos created by the defense. Well, the more of those you have, the better you're going to stop the defense or the offense from going forward. So as you analyze this data and as it kind of goes, the reality of it becomes is these are just metrics. These are different things, but the metrics tell you efficiency grades, and grades is kind of a wrong term, but it's kind of what you're doing is you're grading the ability for these teams to do the functions of a football game, of a football team, and then you're grading the other team on the ability to stop those functions. But because you're doing it in efficiency ways, I guess the best way to say this is there are, just like in baseball, there are formulas that you can write that basically says, well, if this team has a net EPA of this and this team has a net EPA of this, what's the outcome going to be? Well, you can write those and it'll tell you. I tried to do that. And what I've come up with is the best way to do this, the best way I do it, is each week I pick out 15 to 20 games that I want to think about betting on. And I'll tell you how I get there. But and then I give AI, artificial intelligence, I give them the data on this game plus hand-picked data that I want to use. And I tell it to write the formulas and the projections and the different things to give me a score. I want the conviction rate on that score outcome. Because sometimes it'll say, well, this game's going to be 24-21, but it could be blah blah blah, or it could be blah blah blah, depending upon this situation. So, because every game's uniquely different, and every game has its own different nuance, which then prevents you as a user from writing your own program to take the damn data and do it like I do for baseball. You can't, it's not the same. So you need the nuance part of it. So how I get there, and the number one stat that I use, let me pull up, where is it at? Let me swing over here for 1 second. Oop, there we go. And I will give the computer all the advanced data. So all I'm doing is basically clipping and pasting the data from games on paper into an AI. But I'm telling the AI exactly what I want. You're not allowed to use any other. You can't use trends. I don't care about this head coach and this has this situation, and I don't care about a lot. I don't care how many yards they get. None of that. This is the data you're allowed to use, and only. And then the other data that I allow it to use, and the number one thing that I like, is yards per point margin. Okay, so what that means is a team will have scored X number of points, and you divide that by yards, but net. So it's offense and defense. So that will tell you how efficient a team is in a quick view, in just a quick view. So now you got a quick view, a quick number, real fast. And then what I'm looking for is a sizable margin there. And you're going to find them. You're going to see a lot of those. You're going to see teams with huge margins. And those are the games, efficiency-wise, where there's big edges one way or the other. Now, you might find a game where it's, I don't know, let's just say it's Ohio State against Ball State or somebody. And you're looking at that and you're going, well, shit, the margin there is huge. Well, the point margin's huge too. So you're not going to end up on that. But you may look at one that says, hey, here's Florida State with a huge point margin against some also ran team. And at the same time that it's an also ran team, that point margin's smaller. So you might want to look at that on a dog side. So there's a lot of value in doing those things. So the strength of schedule goes into that I give the computer. I give it QBR rank, yards per point, strength of schedule. I give it turnover margin, pace per play, which I didn't think was that important. It is a very important thing. How many opportunities a team has to run plays versus ones that don't. That's a big deal. And at the beginning of the season now, this is not something you do all the time, but at the beginning of the season, you need to know returning productivity from the offense and the defense that's coming back. How much of that stuff is still is there from last year? Transfer portal information, meaning, okay, well, this team's got a new quarterback. This team's got, this player, blah, 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 right? What does it look like? So you're going to need information like what Jeff's talking about. And pick six, in my opinion, is the way to go. I said it before. I'd say it 8 million times. Phil Steele is good. He's a former handicapper. He's a bettor, and he writes these articles. Now, and he talks to the coaches, and he puts out the stuff. But theoretically, he's doing a lot of cut and pasting these days. But the reason I like pick six is because pick six is going to have a different opinion on some things than what Phil Steele is. Everybody and their brother is going to have all these opinions about these teams based on Phil Steele because they can go get it and deal with that. And it's way more accepted right now than pick six is. Pick six is beautiful. It's awesome. I already have my version on digital. The hard copy, I got an email said it's on the way. So I'm going to have both copies here in a little bit. But there's specific things that you want to use pick six for. And some of that is knowing the teams, knowing who's going to be playing, knowing the value and the quality of the players that are going to be playing. And that's going to help you with then understanding the transfer portal, the positions, that stuff, coaching changes and the impacts of coaching changes, right? Like Everybody wants to bet on Oregon, right? They're the best team in college football. That's what you're hearing everywhere. Pick Six likes Oregon. Phil Steele's running his mouth all over about Oregon. But did you know that Oregon lost their offensive and defensive coordinators both? Both of them are new. I'm not suggesting that the new guys that are coming in can't do the job. That's not what I'm suggesting. But I am suggesting that it's different. It's not the same. So somewhere down the line, there's some kind of impact for that. What that looks like may or may not matter. They could still go out there and win all these games and cover all these numbers and do all the different things. But it's something to be aware of, because certainly in game one, whoever they play, whether they're 35, 50-point favorites or whether they're only 10-point favorites, a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator are going to matter, because they're new guys and they never done it before. Both of these guys are internal, by the way. One of them was promoted from I thought he was a tight ends coach to be the offensive coordinator, and the other guy was an internal guy promoted from the defense. So it's not like they're getting guys from outside the organization. These are guys that have already been part of it. So anyway, I think it's very important for you to hear what I'm saying and understand what I'm saying. So please, and I'm not asking you to do this for my benefit. I'm asking you to do this for your benefit. Please go to my Substack. Please become a subscriber, because when I'm talking on these shows, it's way better for me not to repeat all this stuff over and over and over and over and over. All summer long, I keep saying what run edge is and what XFIP is and what Sierra is, so that I don't lose people when I'm talking. When it comes to football, I probably won't be doing that. I'll probably just be saying the stuff, and I want you to understand it. What I wrote today will help you with a lot of the things that I wrote. It's got real dynamics in it. It's got the UNC TCU game in it. It's right there. I didn't write up the whole handicap, but the judgments are kind of there. The outcomes are kind of there. The thought process of what I'm wanting to bet is kind of there. So the point being I'm trying to make is, please go there and please do that. We get, I think the last show we did yesterday, we've got 100 views of the show. The day before that, we got like 250. I know people are busy, and I know people are this, and sometimes I'm full of shit. But go do the Substack part of it, because you're gonna miss out on the nuance of really what I'm doing. I put my record in there from last year. It's 63% wins. That's pretty damn well. It's actually 61.3 or something. Whatever. It's over 60. And I did it all on Jeff's show. I did it all live, and I did it all free. So I'm telling you, it works. It's very good. And I don't want to say it this way. So let's just leave it at that. I was going to say I'll go against anybody. And I know Jeff brings on other guys, and I know they talk football, and I know that, you got other people doing all these things. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you should listen to me over them. Listen to who you want. All I'm going to tell you is I will win more than I lose. And I will say it this way. I know you guys know me from baseball, and I love baseball, and I break it down in probably different ways than anybody's ever heard before. But when it comes to results, I'm way better at football than I am baseball. I'll just leave it there.
Up to 3 Ks if you're still here, Rocket Sauce. Actually, it might have been 4. Hold on one second. Taj might have got 2 then. No, he's got 3 right now. Taj does. The good thing, only 68 pitches, though. And only 59 for Gavin Williams, and he's got 7 Ks. If I remember correctly, last year, TCU, UNC, they opened up at UNC. It was Belichick's home opener, his debut in the NCAA, and they lost their quarterback like in the first drive or something, and they had a backup, and it was TCU just wiped them off the map like 55-10 or something, didn't they?
Yeah, but you got to remember that was Bill Belichick's first game. The quarterback was, whatever it is, what it is. That here's the deal. I don't know how many people know this. Do you know who the offensive coordinator is for North Carolina this year? It's Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino is now at North Carolina as the offensive coordinator. So Bill Belichick's like, here you go, Bobby, go run my offense. I'm going to go run the defense. Here, I'll get you a quarterback. I'll get you this. I'll get you that. So it's a totally different dynamic. They're going to be a lot better than they were a year ago. Maybe not first game, but they're going to be a lot better than they were a year ago. And TCU is not going to be as good as they were a year ago. So this line is 6.5. It's been sitting at 6.5. The total, I think, is opened at 50.5. It's down to 49.5. So here's what I've done. I've handicapped all the games for week 0, and I have my buy points at this point. I'm like, if I can get this particular number, I might buy it now, but I don't have to, because you still have fall practice and then the games. So these kids get hurt. Stuff happens. You might lose. There might be a new quarterback battle. All kinds of different stuff going on. And my buy point on this game was, I don't mind taking North Carolina +8 if I can get there. It's 6 or 6.5 now, so it's not there yet. And the other thought was, I really want to bet the under in this game. I think people are going to bet over because they always do. I want to bet under. But I don't. The under number I'm looking for is 51.5. It opened at 50.5, but now it's at 49.5. So I'm not sure if it's going to get to 51.5. So there's some things there. But like North Carolina State plays Virginia. Everybody knows Virginia from that. Well, don't say everybody. Most people should know Virginia was in the ACC championship game last year for some reason. They weren't very good, but at the same time I say that, they're the cardiac kids from Virginia, won all these games, in comeback fashion, and had a quarterback that just wouldn't let them loose. Well, that quarterback's not there anymore. It's a totally different offense, totally different team. They're playing a team in North Carolina State who's bringing back their quarterback. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. I think I have it. Yeah, Bailey. Yeah. So they bring back quarterback Bailey, and it's not that he's the greatest guy in the world. He turns the ball over some, but he's very athletic, very good quarterback. This is his senior year. They have some consistency there. They did lose some offense or defense, but then this number opened Virginia -2.5, which makes sense to me. It's now out to Virginia -5.5. I want to take North Carolina, but I don't want to take North Carolina State until 5.5 is a dead number, guys. I want a better number than 5.5. So I'm waiting to see if a number like that pops. It's interesting how some of this stuff comes out. I'm waiting on some of these games, like Memphis plays UNLV. Well, Memphis lost a lot. They lost their head coach. A lot of the players that were at Memphis went with the head coach. They're not going to have much on defense. UNLV is a pretty good team. They have pretty good offense, but they don't have any defense either. There's going to be a lot of points. Well, this number is 58.5. I want to bet over 58.5. Shit, I'll bet over 59 if it gets there. But the way I see it, a lot of times people are going to bet under these numbers. So especially when they're that high, and they said, "Oh, it's too high." This game could easily get in the 60s. So, like I said, I've been working on football. I'm pretty good on week 0. I've got week 1 on the through Thursday. So the way it works on week 1 is you got Thursday games, Friday games, Saturday games. I might even have the Friday games done. I haven't gotten into the Saturday games yet on week 1. Now I got to be honest. I'm not totally thrilled about all these games at the beginning. Week 2, you're going to have some games. Ohio State plays Texas week 2, for example. Ohio State, just to give you an idea, is playing Ball State. Ohio State's 50-point favorites against Ball State in that game. So, there's a lot of weird games and a lot of stuff going on in some of these games. They're just tune-ups for the next game, right? Texas isn't playing anybody either. I think they played Texas State, and they're 35-point favorites or something in that game. So as you kind of move forward and you're starting to look at who's doing what and what, week 2 is going to be a much better week than week 1. Then you'll have the only thing I will advise everybody, if you bet the sport do everything you can to watch as much of it as possible. Don't watch boring games, but flip over there, see what they look like. Watch the quarterback a little bit. Watch a play or two. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Watch a little bit just to get in your mind go, oh, that's what they look like. That maybe you thought this kid was a 6'7", 6'10" quarterback, and he's only 5'8". If you don't want to be betting on 5'8" quarterbacks, but you don't know until you see them, because you're not going to look at the roster and go, well, what this kid look like? He's 5'8" and weighs 300 pounds? You're not doing that. So as you do it, you just need to see it and look and watch as much of it as you possibly can, because your eyes will tell you a lot about a football team.
Rocket Sauce, you got to 8 on your Gavin Williams, and Taj is now pitching up to 71 pitches, 3 Ks there. Still zeros there. I think it's now 6-3 Atlanta as they head to the 8th inning there. Me and Scotty will be back tomorrow, 5:15 p.m. Back to where we've been hanging out on the this week. We'll see how it goes. And moving forward into August, it won't be the start of August, more towards the end in September. Again, in September, people forget about baseball, and that's the final month to see who's in the dance and who's not. Football takes the front stage, and life gets busy. I will be working with Scotty. We might not have a baseball show every day. We will have to sprinkle in some football shows. We might have 2 baseball shows and 2 football shows. We don't know what's going on yet. So again, the best thing you can do for yourselves is to head to Exit, Webby20 MLB, follow Scotty, and then also, of course, click the link, join to the Substack, and the rest will be history there. 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, I will be a guest with Andrew McGinnis on Wager Talk TV. And then the assumption is Brett will be there at 11 a.m. I need final confirmation there. And then me and Scotty back, of course, at 5:15. Shout out to Rocket Sauce. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Same to you. PB, thoughts and prayers for you and your wife when she gets into surgery. Kenny Magnet, get some sunblock on. Don't be hanging out by the pool and checking out the bikinis in Scotty's country there. Dr. Lance, Mr. Lucky, the rest of the crew, we wish you nothing but the best today. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one, the only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20 LB. Everyone, enjoy Thirsty Thursday, happy hour. Cheers to the ECSI family and everyone here. And don't forget to pass the apps. And stay tuned.